Welcome back to an amazing episode of Ultra Life Today. This will be part one of an airing, and then we'll do a couple of more parts later on. I'm Josh Bellew.
I'm Adam Payne. We have a guest.
Adam, we've got a treat for our viewers and listeners today because this also goes out over the radio airwaves. We've got Dr. Deanna Wyndham in house. It's a beautiful day in Oklahoma. We've had an amazing rainy season here. And Dr. Deanna Wyndham has kind of become, I would say, a integrated into our family and a team member. And Adam, that's all I can say about it. She's going to make a trip with us to Canada in the future to a conference that's going to be a really interesting departure for us. But Dr. Wyndham, we welcome you once again to Ultra Life Today, and we're going to have what we call a spontaneity session today. Can you say that fast 3 times, Adam?
I'm the least spontaneity person.
You had your endo lift though, so I'm counting on you.
I'm not feeling much spontaneity right now. My brain is kind of stuck.
All right, it's
going to open eventually. Right. You know, I find that these conversations always open up some new avenue of discussion.
Of course they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Deanna.
Yeah. Hey.
I want to mention as a prelude to this that in me learning a little bit about Dr. Wyndham over the years, if you haven't gone back and looked at the archived episodes we have with Dr. Wyndham, you're going to realize that she, like so many practitioners, Adam, has gone through an intense health journey and continues to go through transitions in her own health, learning about her own health and how to deal with her health challenges. And I don't think it would hurt our audience to have you try to give maybe an encapsulated recap of some of what you've been through so that they can, like me, identify with you and go, oh my gosh, this lady is not some researcher that's out there in a lab doing things with test tubes. She's lived a difficult life of transitioning through her own journey of health stuff. So again, welcome to the broadcast. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. First of all, I appreciate everything that you guys do. And I love being here with both of you. And I love the direction that our talks take. By way of introducing my experiences with health and life, I would say that, you know, my health journey began before I can remember, because as an infant I was sick and my mom didn't know why.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a mysterious rash that would crack and bleed sometimes.
Oh, wow.
She took me to multiple doctors, and I think I was around 8 or 9 when they finally diagnosed it as psoriasis.
Oh.
Which now we know is autoimmune, but at the time I don't believe that that was
pediatric
understood.
Psoriasis, it's rare.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And
not anymore, but it was back then, right?
Right. It's all autoimmune diseases of all types are becoming more common. And there are some reasons for that we can talk about if you'd like. But that developed psoriasis developed into psoriatic arthritis and irritable bowel syndrome and
leaky gut syndrome probably came along. Yeah.
Right. And autoimmune urticaria, which is basically just hives caused by autoimmune disease, but it's awfully hard to treat that. And the symptoms that most autoimmune people experience, which is chronic fatigue and brain fog and chronic joint pains or chronic body pains. These were things that I lived with, and I was in track when I was growing up and had to drop out of track during my senior year because the pain and the fatigue were just so significant that I could no longer maintain track. Although I did keep running when I was able. I just wasn't always able. I did it for fun rather than competition at that point.
Do I remember, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, that there was some beautiful familial connection with a grandparent that actually was a catalyst in your early journey to trying to discover health, and then maybe you look back on that moment as something that propelled you on your journey to learning about something outside the conventional medical paradigm. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, it is. So
Remind
it's
us of that because it's
intriguing.
cool.
It's my mom's mom and
Okay.
my dad's dad. So those two grandparents were my mom's mom was more of like she would do like kitchen herbs or put things in a pot
Right,
and then
right.
feed it to us.
Wow.
And it was
So
food
real
or it was
natural
tea.
medicine.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think my grandmother would have defined it as any sort of medical treatment.
It's just
her,
legacy
it was
and part of
just-
health. My
right.
mom used to be given black draft, as she calls it, 3 or 4 times a year, and then they would even do fasting and stuff. And I'm like, where did they get
These are
that?
all
And she's
cutting
like,
edge
these
now.
just always were done in our family for generations.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah,
But it had a benefit.
Oh, absolutely.
it's a huge benefit. Now we know how great these things are and how important intermittent fasting is and how it improves health and overall longevity. Healthy longevity by years by intermittent fasting. I mean, that's...
So, Adam, you being a pharma guy, I have to ask you about this.
Got the lights.
Because this, and here we go.
And here we go. Now we're
welcome to
now we're
Ultra
alive.
Life today. You can actually see us now.
Now you can see us.
Adam, I used to run around with an FDA auditor guy, and we would audit supplement and manufacturing facilities, contract manufacturing facilities. And he said...
To try to find one
and
that would work right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he said, like ours, by the way. Anyway, he said, Josh, do you realize that the original pharmacopoeia consisted of all these different herbs and everything? And then he said, when the advent of what we call conventional medical today or allopathic medicine came in, he said that was changed completely as in the advent of pharmaceutical drugs. And I was shocked to realize, and you know this, Adam, because you were working with some stuff that was grandfathered in because of early pharmacopoeia stuff, right, in the herbal space.
You can
Isn't
find
that
like
amazing?
all sorts of herbal remedies in the monographs in the that are grandfathered in as drugs that can be used for treating all sorts of things, and those are because these were inherited pharmaceutical interventions from the 1800s to 1700s.
Right. And those were the tools of those early practitioners. That's what they used when they prescribed a medication. And it was a plant.
Even the homeopathic pharmacopoeia is recognized in the United States as a drug where you can actually make, if you have a homeopathic drug, you can sell it as a treatment for a disease.
Right. Deanna had a light bulb go off. I want to hear what she's going to say because she almost jumped into the microphone.
I've been dying to say something here. So there's actually, this is really intriguing. I have one of these older books. My aunt gave it to me. And it actually lists all of these really interesting, like herbs and homeopathics. And it's only around, I believe, the turn of the last century when Western medicine started being defined as a business. And
the American Medical Association,
and the early advent of the Rockefeller influence in the Rockefeller School of what we call the Rockefeller School of Medicine these days.
Right. And their whole plan with Western medicine was to to eliminate the things that big business could not make money on. And homeopathics, big business can't make money on it because anybody can make those.
Yeah, you can't patent these unique God-given things, right?
Interesting.
And so the whole goal was to eliminate everything that couldn't be patented, to call only those patentable things as true medicine, and to train doctors in the business of medicine. And so now, 100 years later, not quite, I guess,
pretty close though.
Right.
Now we've got this system where doctors don't understand the training that we're getting. I call medical school a form of brainwashing because they literally tell us that we're not allowed. They scare us that we're not allowed to look outside of what we're taught in medical school, that it's, that you're a quack if you do, that, you're not looking at real medicine anymore. There's so many ways that they kind of get it into our heads that all of these things are no longer valid.
Right.
And that you have to go with these scientifically proven pharmaceutical remedies, and that if you're not doing that, you're not practicing real medicine.
Adam,
It's a disservice.
I said this was going to be a spontaneous section, Adam, but that we were going to have today. But I'm so glad that we touched on this, because there are so many people that I still meet, Adam, because I have the opportunity to interact with a lot of doctors and their staffs. There's so many people I meet out there that may go into a health food store occasionally. I meet customers in health food stores as well that are like, this is the first time I've ever even considered taking a vitamin. And I'm like, what have you done all your life? And they say, I grew up going to Dr. So-and-so on Main Street in this small town, and they were our family doctor for 30 years. And then we developed these problems. We had these surgeries. And it's like, I think it is very important for people to hear, Adam and Deanna, that there was a history of what we now call alternative medicine. Why do we call it that? It should be mainstream, just like all these therapies should be able to integrate together. But I think it's really important for our listeners and our viewers to understand that there's a rich and deep history of practicing medicine that came before things turned into the allopathic medical world that we talk about today, so they don't have to be scared of the things that we might recommend that we've seen. And Adam, your world, you came from doing clinical trials of things to prove them, so that they could finally be recommended by a doctor.
Well, there's a whole path to getting a drug approved in the United States. It's a system that is designed to prove that you have something that is safe and will actually derive a statistically relevant benefit to a human with an official diagnosis of a particular disease or condition. Yeah. And that system is regulated and is scrutinized, and every doctor that goes through medical school is essentially indoctrinated into this way of thinking that they need to have first a diagnosis that then gives them a treatment plan.
Right.
And then, God forbid, that doctor would deviate from what is whatever the gold standard is for a treatment plan for that patient, because they are liable under malpractice. If they deviate from that plan, they could be sued. And so you have a combination of our litigious society, doctors that are afraid of deviating from a particular plan, and the costs of actually getting a drug approved in our society. It's gone up. It's at least $500 million to get a drug approved in the United States for a disease.
So you've been listening to Adam Payne, CEO of Ultra Botanica, Dr. Deanna Wyndham. You can contact her through wholehumanlife.com. That's WHOLE, humanlife.com. There's also an 800 number, 888-338-3408. Again, this is Ultra Life Today, and we're going to be back in just a moment with our next segment.
Our mission is to take nature's most beloved botanicals and enhance them with our liquid protein scaffold technology. This helps it reach your cells faster and better. With exponentially enhanced bioavailability, you'll feel better every day. Ultra Botanica, the feel-good curcumin.
Welcome back to Ultra Life Today. I'm Josh Bellew.
Adam Payne here, and we are continuing our discussion with Dr. Deanna Wyndham. Doc, what is your technical fellowship that you got? What are you medical people? You guys you go training through fellowships. You get board certified. What do you have?
Yeah.
Where did you get indoctrinated?
Right. So I'm actually board certified in family practice.
Okay.
So when I graduated from medical school 20 years ago, There were no fellowships in integrative or functional medicine.
So the IFM wasn't around,
Right.
and the A4M wasn't around.
Well, A4M was around, but they weren't offering any sort of fellowship.
Oh, interesting.
So I was already getting continuing, like even when I was in my residency, I was getting continuing medical education in bioidentical hormones.
Oh, interesting.
And I was going to these conferences in integrative medicine, and I was getting, well, when you're a resident, you can't really get credits for that, but I was doing hours in those to get concurrent training in it, but it was nothing that was recognized by the American Medical Association or the American Osteopathic Association.
Understood.
So my training started long before we had those, and even before Andrew Weil had his functional medicine program at the University of Arizona.
Oh,
So
interesting.
all
When
of
did
that-
that happen? When did Wild start that?
That happened about, 10 to 12 years ago.
Oh, so it's still
It's
relatively
been-
new.
Right. And so that happened about 8 to 10 years into my career. And so I actually started my career at Whitaker Wellness. And Dr. Whitaker was a huge name in the integrative or functional or complementary and alternative.
yeah,
in
yeah.
those
To
early
me,
days,
he's an
we couldn't-
iconic pioneer that actually, for the first time, because of maybe his personality, his demeanor, introduced people that knew nothing about functional and integrative medicine to that world. And he was so believable that people were like, there's something here that resonates.
Well,
with
it's
me,
results.
right?
It's not only that; it's the results that people were getting.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so you were in a true apprenticeship with him
Yes.
and absorbing all of his world for
Right.
how many years were you there?
14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was-
that's a residency, huh?
Yeah, it was. It was an intense fellowship training because people would leave. And Dr. Whitaker, because of who he was and just so dynamic, and he would reach out to the rest of the community. And very often we would know, like the vitamin C research that came out of for IV vitamin C for cancer that was coming out of the University of Kansas Medical Center.
Oh, wow.
We were the first ones to hear about that research and to implement it even before the papers came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it
Well,
was
that's
really
exciting.
fun. Yeah, it was really fun and
talk
exciting.
about a John the Baptist, somebody that was putting their head on the chopping
So you guys
block.
must have felt like you were on
Wow.
like the cutting edge of new
Yeah.
things and exciting.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fun.
It was so much fun. And we would have people that would come from, all over the country and even all over the world, and that would come to Whitaker Wellness. And we had people that would literally leave their hospital beds to fly or drive to Whitaker Wellness and be treated.
Wow.
And it was intimidating and scary at times.
Because these are really very
These
sick.
are very sick people. We would see people. I had a patient with autoimmune urticaria that was so bad that her throat was closing and she could barely breathe. She was dying in the hospital, and she in Northern California, and she left the ICU to come to Whitaker Wellness because they were just giving her Benadryl and EpiPens, just over and
Wow.
over and over again. I've never seen anybody have higher doses than her.
Oh, good.
That's
And
bad.
yeah, and that was scary when she came into me and said, I left the ICU and I've had this much EpiPens and this much Benadryl. It was all I could do to keep a straight face and not run from that room.
So
but-
what happened?
So we treated her with IVs and with acupuncture and hyperbaric and IV MSM. We actually did stabilize her, and
Wow.
she remained stable and out of the hospital for about 10 years the last time that I spoke to her, and I haven't seen her in several years.
I
now.
want to say so many expletives right now. That's
Um,
incredible.
It is. Deanna, this gets kind of, I'm putting you on the spot here, but again, the nature of today's broadcast, I think, is so important for people to hear this. But you and I were talking in the break room before we came in here today, and you mentioned to me how unbelievably scary and frightening it was in these early days of your practice. And we were talking about both of us kind of being more shy and retiring, and it takes something to get us out there, interacting with the world. and you tell me what it's like, tell our listeners what it's like to have someone walk into your office and say, "You're my last hope. If this doesn't work, I'm going to take my life." I mean, when you shared that with me, and I think it's important for us to talk about this today and I'm kind of getting a little teary-eyed. I know there's people listening that have felt that very same way. So would you address how that felt, but then also give a little hope injected into this audience?
Absolutely. And forgive me if I am a little bit emotional. I have been there myself.
Wow.
Just as a person and as somebody who was looking for answers. And at times, the only thing that kept me going was because I was a mom and I didn't want to give up on myself.
And how hard is that? You're being a mom too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so when people come into me, first of all, when people come into my office, I feel, and I know a lot of doctors that are integrative like myself, they have a calling to this. They're not just practicing medicine, they have a calling. And I think that's true of most doctors that go into functional or integrative medicine.
Yeah.
And when people come into my office, I feel like they come into my family. So these are people that I am highly motivated to help because they're part of my human family and part of my, I love them when they
Now
when
I
they
understand the name of your company, Whole Human Life.
Yes.
It's beginning to make more sense to me. Keep going.
Yes.
This is great.
And so when somebody tells me that, my heart just goes out to them, and because I feel this with them, and I feel the pain, the despair, the just absolute, just dire need to come up with an answer because life is not worth living in the way that they're living it. And I know what that feels like. But in my mind, there is always an answer. And Dr. Whitaker really taught me this, because if I don't know it, because I can't possibly know everything. There's no possible way. But if I don't know it, there is somebody who does.
That's so cool.
So reaching out to the community, one of the major things that Dr. Whitaker did for me was teach me how to reach out to other doctors and other practitioners. And so one of the things that I have is connections with other doctors and other practitioners, because they're not all doctors around the country. And somebody knows what to do.
Right.
And can help. There's always an answer.
And the cool thing is you really do have answers, and you've amassed this knowledge base from relationships with other people. You and I had a very personal phone call one time, Deanna, and after the phone call, I started thinking of you as Deanna Sherlock Holmes Wyndham. Because in talking to you, and Adam and I have talked to a lot of practitioners, and they really like to stay in their lane. And you said, Josh, when someone comes to me with a mystery, it intrigues me, it fascinates me, and I want to get to the bottom of what that mystery is to be able to help them with their health. And I was like, this is so cool. I
actually love a good mystery.
Okay.
I do. And that's what I see a lot of.
You see hard cases.
I see
a lot of times, right? That may have been to other people. And then they come to you, and you're having to assemble these puzzle pieces.
Right. It's beautiful. I mean, it's such. You get symptoms. You have some really neat testing systems that you use that can give you insight into the metabolomic and the genomic and whatever other kind of omic that you want to look at here. And these, honestly, these omic tools. I mean, these are tests that are really only come into their own in the last 5 to 10 years, because we're able to look at things in the body, these cytokines, chemokines, SNPs, these genomic tests that really have only been available in the last decade.
They've actually been available for a couple decades, but doctors haven't been using them much.
Well, the costs have been astronomical.
Always.
And the breadth of information around what these different pieces of information mean have eluded us.
Right.
And now it's you have such a wider palette to pick from.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I often say is that I have more tools in my tool belt than most doctors do. And so there's these testing facilities around the country that have that's why I call it integrative medicine. I know there's complementary and alternative, there's functional, which are very good
orthomolecular.
names.
I'll throw a new one in there.
Orthomolecular.
Right? Which actually has an incredible history. Sometime
it does.
We've got to.
Yeah, it's like the word gazebo, one of my favorite words.
I actually work with Father Brian Osborne in the Archangel Raphael Medical Ministries. So I'm the medical director there.
Wow.
And he likes the name of orthomolecular medicine. He uses that preferentially. But I like integrative. And the reason I like that name is because I always say that I integrate in everything that's scientifically and research proven.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really think that says what I do and what type of medicine it is.
Oh, interesting.
And there are so many research validated forms of testing, like even just a simple test like an organic acid test. I tell people a lot that whenever we're testing, like if we pull your blood out of your body, it is then dead blood that your cells don't live outside of your body, so we're basically testing your dead cells.
Okay, and this is going to be a beautiful segue to go. I so want to talk to you about some tests. I'm remembering some conversations we've had. We've got about 45 seconds left here, and I want to make sure people know how to get a hold of you. This is Dr. Deanna Wyndham of WholeHumanLife.com, WHOLE, humanlife.com. There's a 800 number, 888-338-3408. Our conversation has taken some interesting turns today, and I hope it's touching people's heartstrings and recognizing there's hope. There are answers out there, and there's people like Dr. Deanna Wyndham here in Oklahoma and around the country that can help you. I'm Josh Bellew.
I'm Adam Payne. This is Ultra Life Today.